There are 3 ways to keep people stuck. 1, get them focused on things they can't control. That's number 1. And look at the news. The news is all about getting you to focus on things you can't control. That's going to keep you stuck. Number 2, get you to focus on the things you don't have. So now we're going to focus on control and we're going to focus on lack. And just think about the news. Back test what I'm saying. Now you're all out there and the solution is now out there. You're looking out there for it. And then the last one is I need to make sure I get you stuck in the past or in the future. Right? Now I've taken all power from you. And it is not all like somebody else can do this. We do this to ourselves. We focus on things we can't control. We focus on things we don't have. And we focus on the past or we focus on the future, keeping ourselves powerless to change our lives. So taking back control is I focus on the one thing I can control, myself. I focus on the things I do have, gratitude, and I get in the very real present moment. Now is all there is of time. Now is all there is of time. And all creation happens now.
Let me challenge one piece of that.
Yep.
If I don't think about the future, then if I'm only thinking about today, like people have this silly thing like, if you only had 3 hours to live, one day would you live, what would you do? Well, you wouldn't be very productive.
Right.
You wouldn't be building anything.
Right. Probably not, depending on who you are, but probably not. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think having a vision
100%
for where you're going will cause you to do more of the correct activity during the day.
100%.
Is that part living in the future?
Well, I would describe it this way, and I'm glad that you're asking a clarification here. We learn from the past, we plan for the future, we live in today.
We live in today.
But you are absolutely
to go towards a
planning
better
into the future. Yeah, but we have to live in today. What happens, and I'm sure you've seen this in your own work.
You don't want to live in a future that causes you not to take an action today.
Correct. And you'll see people do that where they get so obsessed with the future that they're miserable. They're miserable today. There's no effect today because it's always tomorrow. Right? So plan for the future, but live in the only moment that's real, which is today.
Right.
So that's your formula. If you want to take back your power, focus on things you can control, focus on things you do have, and focus on the present moment, where you are now. What action can you take now? So pay attention to how media works, how people try to get your attention, how marketing works.
Being programmed.
It's 100%. It's getting you to focus on things you can't control, focus on things you don't have, and it's either going to focus on the past or the future. And so step 1, take back control, surrender the illusion of control of others, is I can take back the one thing I can control, which is myself. That opens up the door for the next 2, right, where everything begins to open up. But it could be a whole lifetime while somebody's working on that one.
And before we get to the next 2, I would just give you my hack.
Yeah, please.
On the first one is when I got first involved in network marketing, I had a lot of viruses in my brain, 3 in particular. One is I would rather get away with something than earn it. It was just more fun.
Yep.
I'd rather sneak onto the golf course than pay. I'd rather get into the back seat of a car and go to the drive-in or into the trunk of a car than pay or whatever.
For it.
You know what I mean? If somebody mislabeled something at a store and I got it for a discount and it was their fault, I was super happy about that. All that is silly stuff.
Yep.
But it was deeply ingrained. Another one is I wanted people to pay me first and then I'd work harder.
Yeah, that'll keep you stuck.
Yeah. Well, it's like, pay me. You're only paying me to do this, so I'm only going to do this. So I thought they were taking advantage of me if I did more work than I was getting paid for.
Yeah.
And the third thing is I was a professional blamer.
Yep.
I was world class.
Yep.
I could convince anybody of just about anything that wasn't my fault. And once I got involved in entrepreneurship, I realized the blame thing
doesn't serve you
at all.
Because you still have to pay the price.
I could get a passing grade in school with the blame thing or whatever. I could survive, but I wasn't going to make any money.
Yeah, the real world doesn't care.
Real world does not care. Yeah. So I found for me that in my programming, it's like a 1 or a 0. Like it's binary, right?
Yep.
So 2 sides of a coin. So if this side of the coin is blame, this side of the coin is taking responsibility.
Yep.
So I just refused.
Yep.
And I found it was very difficult to do. But I trained myself not to blame anyone or anything for my lack of success or happiness at all, because the blame's just a dead end road, right?
Yes.
It's like some people, it's another example of a dead end road is some people typically want to make more money and do less work.
Yeah.
And if you continue down that road, you get all the money, you do nothing. Well, that's not going to work. So why not do the maximum in order to be able to get the maximum, to be fairly paid for what you do, the value you bring to the world? Okay, fine. So just that one little shift. Now I didn't think about it as eloquently as you did with these 3 different buckets of surrendering these things and reprogramming my mind in these things. I just said, I'm not going to blame.